Three, two, one. How's everybody doing? My name is Jake. I'm Commissioner Tubbs and your host for the Words of the Underground podcast. Sitting to my left is Chuck, my co-host, and on my right is our special guest, Avery Barrett.
Avery.
What's up, guys?
Words of the Underground.
Yeah, Words of the Underground.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, we finally gave it a name. If you see up there, I don't know. It's just threw it out there. I don't know.
Works.
Yeah. So, like our other podcasts, we're going to go through our news first. We're going to start with the rankings. Our current rankings, AJ's still number one. He's got a rematch with Rodney coming up pretty soon, next couple days. He survived the tournament yesterday, kept his number one tag. Had a close one with Tanner.
That was a great match.
Oh, yeah, great match. Tanner pushed him. We got Rodney at number two, Ernie number three. Let's see, Tanner at number four, Josh Easton, number five. We got was that Russ?
Yeah.
And then Kyle Biggs, Cody Cook's a new one.
Nice.
He took out Tracy over the last week.
Yeah.
Cody, all right.
He did challenge Tanner too for his number four tag on Friday,
I
but
did see that.
wasn't successful. That was a really good match too.
Yeah.
Bunch of high scoring on that one. You got Noah at number 9 and then myself at number 10. So basically, there's been a little bit of change this week, not too much. Some pretty good matches, I would think.
I won two.
Did you? Yeah, you did win 2, didn't
Yep, 2 matches.
you? Yeah. Chuck getting a couple wins there.
Yeah, after I was 0-4, so now I'm like 3-1 since then.
Nice.
Working it in there. Me have been a little bit absent this past month, but
It happens. It happens. Points. Chad's got a half a point lead right now over Ernie. Ernie jumped 5 points over with the tournament. He got 2 off of Justin Barrett, 2 off of Chuck, and then 1 off of AJ. He had a good run through the tournament. Made it to the semifinals. Rodney, you got Rodney at number 3. He's pushing to try to keep him up there. Now he's locked up in the challenge, so I don't know if, depending on what AJ wants to do, I don't know if he's going to be able to get any more points out of this month. Technically AJ could push the challenge out to Tuesday, which would be the first, and keep his number 1 title if he wanted to. But solely up to those 2 guys, I guess.
nah, I don't see it happening.
No, I don't know. He was asking me about it Friday. How the rules went and stuff.
Why does that not surprise me? It's gone back and forth.
Because they're both good bowlers. I mean, we got some top bowlers in there. You know what I'm saying? You got Alex, number 4. He's had a lot of challenges lately.
Yeah.
He's getting in there, putting the work in.
Oh, yeah, there's several. I mean, your dad,
Yeah, Dad's
the
been
right
lighting
and
up,
left
yeah.
that are challenging,
Yeah.
and multiple times a day, and sometimes traveling around the city.
Yeah. Alex is doing a lot. Josh Dye is doing a lot. Chad's doing a lot.
Matt
I mean,
Davis.
Matt Davis, yeah. Speaking of Matt Davis, he's number 5 in our points at 14.5.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys that are just trying to get out there and get it done and get as many points as possible. Some of these guys they have their 2 wins to challenge in the top 10, and yet they're still not doing it. They're still challenging
They just
everybody
keep
else.
rolling for points.
Yeah. I mean, $50 a month.
Hey.
Not too bad when you're only putting in 20.
Sure enough.
You know what I'm saying? So that's.
Profit's profit any way you look at it.
And speaking of guys that can challenge into the top 10, we have a pretty big list. Dane, Richard Parkinson. I think Richard's challenging Noah today, so he'll be taken off this list after that challenge is done. Chad, Ron, Chuck, when are you going to challenge into the top 10? You going to wait till the next month?
I'll wait till my back gets better.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't blame you there. Lance is in there. Thomas has been up there for a while now. He keeps challenging everybody else, or everybody else keeps challenging him. So I guess, whatever works, right? You got what is that next thing? I can't even read that.
Is that Wolf?
Oh yeah, James Wolf. Yeah, I forgot the S on there. Typo, my bad. And then Michael David Jr. of course. Some of these guys has been on there for a while. They just keep challenging elsewhere, I guess.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of these guys are in this just for the sheer competition.
Absolutely.
Best 2 or 3 games, you know, you bowl your first game, and if you lose, you're still in it, that kind of thing. That's exciting. I mean, it's heads up, mano-y-mano. That's what makes it fun, I think.
Well, and some of them, this is the format where they shine in, and I think one that's kind of been really obvious is Ernie, as far as just how, with Freight Train, how he just seems to really bowl so amazing on all these matches, no matter who he's bowling. And there's been some who've just consistently stayed in the top 5 or top 10 ever since, well, even before the lockdown. Tanner, Ernie, who never really fell out of it. So.
Yeah, and Russ.
Russ,
Yeah,
yes,
Russ has
Russ
been
is
there.
yeah, he has done, what was it, in the beginning when we were keeping track
He-
of averages, he was averaging like 240?
Yeah, he held the first place title, or the number 1 tag for 2 months straight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the longest one for sure.
Yeah.
It was about the only person that Ernie couldn't get through regularly.
Yeah, yeah.
The only roadblock in the freight train.
Consider it was kryptonite.
Aren't they gonna be bowling each other?
Yeah,
Should-
today.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
Yeah. Actually, should be starting.
now.
Should be,
soon.
yeah, should be bowling right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Last I saw was like 12:30.
yeah.
Was the initial time, but
Yeah. All right, so tournament yesterday, we had a pretty good, well, a decent turnout. Not as good as I'd hoped. We had 14 come in and bowl.
yeah.
A couple of new guys. A couple of guys that's not in the club, which is pretty cool, I think.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
was-
the word just
that
shows that your
changed
word's
some.
getting out there, you know. Had a really good turnout. Dustin Hearn just tore it up. He qualified number 1. He took out anybody that was up against him, and he actually won it. Took our little belt from us.
Shades on.
Yeah, he took care of business. Him and AJ qualified a little low. Had a little issues with that, but he fought through the bracket.
Whenever he started playing straighter, straight in his lineup, that's whenever he took off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only caught a little bit of the finals match while I was at work, and just never seemed to get anything really going. So that was kind of a
Yeah, I
tough
think
issue there.
watching the semifinal match between him and Ernie, both of them you could tell they were getting tired, losing their shot, having a hard time figuring out what was going on. You know, fatigue probably set in a little bit because 3 games a round. You got 4 rounds after bowling 3 games qualifying. That's a lot. You know, you're looking at a potential 15 games in one tournament, a couple hours. It's pretty.
It can work on you a little bit.
Yeah, especially with these guys that's not used to doing that many games.
Yeah. And with a shot that could possibly transition awkwardly.
Yeah, people bowled better on it than I thought they were going to. We had a few 6s, mostly 5s, upper 5s, but I
over
mean,
3-game sets.
yeah. Dustin shot 666. That was our highest set. Yeah. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
this is gonna work out real well.
Getting some extra help back there.
Yeah. So the tournament we had a pretty decent turnout. Dustin won. He got the $1,000 in the Ultimate Challenge 1 belt. I don't know if we're gonna put it on anymore because it didn't turn out the way I thought it was going to. But
I think
if we do, we'll give it a
Not
few
for
months.
lack of trying.
Yeah,
right, I don't
yeah.
see any problem as far as not holding another one. Maybe a little bit better planning as far as
Getting the word out. I
yeah,
feel
and
like I
planning
didn't.
further out in advance. This one was kind of
Yeah, I feel like I
short
threw it
notice.
together.
so.
I threw it together, and I didn't get the word out good enough. I didn't make flyers. I just basically solely did social media.
Yeah, tried to spam through that.
Yeah, and it just didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. But that happens. It's a learning experience. We'll give it a few months and try it again.
We're looking at avenues even through that on social media stuff as different bowling groups for around town. and
Yeah,
stuff
that's
like
what we
that.
did. We posted. There's a tournament bowlers page. There's a
Yeah.
Tulsa Bowling Club
Club,
page.
yeah.
That kind of stuff. We posted through Southwest Bowlers. We posted in there. Chuck shared the shit out of it. He's friends with everybody. So between you and Tanner, I think you got the whole Tulsa bowling scene covered when it comes to Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as far as most of the pages and the groups, and then there's some groups like Angela's group, she
They're huge.
yeah, in the fact that she doesn't leave any stone unturned as far as everything she seems to put in there.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
definitely always a page to share, or a group page to share things to.
So, next bit of news is we're doing this draft tomorrow. Well, later today actually, and it's gonna be pretty exciting. We're gonna split up everybody into two teams because we're up to 43 for next month.
Yeah, I was really thinking about it this morning. I was like, no, I'd be okay getting drafted. I wouldn't be against it at all, actually, given my little bit lack of performance lately. But at the same time, I was like, I don't mind if I'm not in the top 10 anywhere. I was like, I just gotta fight for it a little bit and make it happen. So.
Yeah, and with the rule changes we've made or we're making, I'll post those later, by the way. We've actually changed it to where you have to have 2 consecutive wins to get a challenge to the top 10. Kind of slow everybody down a little bit
Yeah.
because I didn't anticipate everybody wanting to throw challenges at each other
Like
multiple
this?
times.
Left and right.
Yeah, you have one guy doing 3 challenges in one day. I wasn't expecting that at all.
Nobody likes to lose.
No, so yeah, we're gonna do that. And also, if you take a look at this belt in front of us, we have a new title. It's called the baddest MFer of the club. The first 2 that challenge for it will be basically the managers of each team will pick the baddest guy at the end of the month, and they'll go at it. And after that, you have to have a 5-match win streak to be able to challenge for it. So that'll slow down people from challenging left and right
Stout.
as well, because there'll be more strategy to it.
Yeah.
That on top of the 2 consecutive wins, I think we're going to slow down on challenges and hopefully see some good matches.
Smooth out the playing field a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Draft list. So we have this list. We can't really see it real well, can we? Hang on a second.
You got hard copies? Nice.
I got one hard copy in here. If you guys want to take a look at it. I don't know, man. It's going to be tough. There's a lot of good bowlers on this list. No, there's actually a second page too. But a lot of good bowlers. A lot of guys I don't really know very well. They've contacted me over Messenger on Facebook and wanted to get in. Ernie's known. It seemed like he knew a lot more than I did with these guys. But a lot of good bowlers. It's going to be hard to figure out who's going to be in that bottom half of the top 10. Because, as of right now, our top 10 list will be drafted into the 2 top 5 lists. And then from there, everybody else will be drafted accordingly. As you see behind us, we have the 2 team title belts. On my left is going to be the blue. No, on my left is the black team champion, which that'll be Tanner's team. And then on my right is the blue team championship belt, which that'll be Ernie's team. I based those picks solely on Ernie has a commissioner's belt, and it's also blue, so I went with it.
It's fair.
Yeah, so they're going to draft their teams, and then, whoever's number 1 right now. So AJ may not even be drafted number 1.
There's always that chance.
He could be drafted at 5. It just depends on what Ernie and Tanner feel like are the best there is. And yeah, it's gonna be exciting to see who goes where. But yeah, we have a lot of new guys joining. I think we have like 8,
Looks like almost 8 to 10.
11. We have 11 new guys joining this next month. That puts us at 43 or 44. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. Yeah, so we're gonna have the draft this afternoon. I'll probably get it posted around 5, so keep an eye out for it. It'll be just like one of these podcasts where we'll post it on the YouTube channel and then put the link on the Facebook page. That way everybody can see it. We'll do a coin toss this month to see who goes first. After that, that's when the team versus team competition at the end of the month comes into play. That'll be determining which manager gets to go first in the next month's draft. Which months following this one, the top 10 will stay the same for each team. Each manager will have 2 trades. So you can trade straight across. So like a 7 for a 7 or a 3 for a 3. So each manager will have two trades. So a total of 4 switches could happen in the top 10, and then everybody else will get thrown back into a hat and redrafted.
Nice.
So it'll be exciting. If we
Almost
grow it,
kind of like a keeper setup.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll probably leave it alone with this format for a little while. I know we just changed formats the last couple months. Each month we've had a different format, but we're looking to stay in the same for a little while. Just give me a break from trying to have to change everything. So, I mean, I have ideas of what I want to do if we keep growing.
Never short on ideas.
No, brain doesn't stop, man. Come on. But I have a few ideas of what I want to do if we do get to be too big for 2 teams. I don't really want to say what.
We'll cross that bridge when
Yeah,
we get there.
we'll cross that bridge when we get
It'll
there.
be good to see it grow to that size to justify those changes.
Yeah, for sure. I want to thank everybody for joining, and it's in it right now, and it's helping grow it. We've had a couple sponsors. I want to thank them for helping us get the stuff that we need, that sort of thing. Let's talk a little bit about Avery here. Let's learn a bit about Avery. So
What would you like to know?
so you've been bowling since you were a kid, like me, right?
Yeah, off and on. Competitively, not really since I moved back here to Tulsa. A little after the age of 16, got in the youth program here. It was actually River Lanes. And shortly after that, Andy B's stopped bowling in youth at 18, got in adult leagues with Chuck, first adult league. And just kind of was all about it. Like for the first couple seasons, there was a point in time where I had an average in 7 leagues one season,
Oh wow.
and bowling regularly for 4 of those nights and 7 on a couple other nights. I've throttled back quite a bit since then, but that's such
Putting
is
it
life.
mildly.
Yeah, such is life. But yeah,
I mean, you grow and you do the whole family thing, and it's harder to get in here, and it's easier when you're single and you've
yeah,
got too
And
much time on your hands, like me. And
work here, and pretty much it was school, work, and just bowl in your off time,
Yeah.
and whatever else. But
yeah,
it was
sure.
convenient. It was convenient at the time for sure. But,
so how many 300 games have you had?
6 sanctioned for in competition. So and then handfuls just in practice.
As do most. Most of us throw
Yeah.
them when it doesn't count.
Yeah. Probably one of my favorite practice one is just grabbing a ball that's actually, when I was still co-youth director here for the youth league, I grabbed a ball that I had left in the office back here. I don't think I've thrown it since I bowled junior gold.
Wasn't it was it the Teal Pro Zone?
It was. I hadn't thrown it since it was 2008 season. Was
Up there
really
at Junior Gold?
Yeah,
when
it
you
was
saw
really the last time that I used it.
Mush tear?
Yeah.
Loser.
And I don't know, this was probably 7 years later, so clearly my span and stuff hadn't really changed too much, and go out there and roll a game on a pair in between the kids and some tennis shoes, and I shoot 3 out of the office with it. I was like, how? Why?
Whenever you were bowling, his first season in adults, he had 5 300s in a year, including 2 within 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah, whenever he had gotten into it, if I remember, I was bowling a league with you, then 2, then 3. It wound up being, you just kind of took anything, and I just, joined with him, and reluctantly joined Classic Traveling League, which is probably the best move I made joining a league. And whenever we bowled that first year, But yeah, it was incredible what he did his first couple of years, and whenever he got into, and he also was a former pro.
Yeah, I just say that I held a PBA card for a season, getting into it. Pulled a couple of regionals. I mean, didn't do horrible. Didn't do enough to.
One
justify
you did
cashing
really
or
good in,
anything
though,
like
didn't you?
that. Shawnee was my last one. I averaged like 220, and I missed the cut by like 5 sticks. So it was a little disappointing.
So your first regional, were you like really nervous?
Absolutely. It was on a trip going back out to my mom's in Washington, and Federal Way it's Tacoma Lanes is what it's called. And so bowling out there, first pro event, got family that hasn't ever really watched me bowl for the most part, watched behind me. So it was definitely a little bit nerve-wracking. I think I did okay. I think I averaged like $1.85 for that event. I mean,
Typical in a first regional.
yeah,
Did the same here.
it was different. I think actually that it was that regional. I think that Danny Wiseman was out there
Okay,
for that
Danny
event.
Wiseman.
So that was kind of interesting to see some of the more seasoned pros that watch on television, stuff like that, be out there. It was kind of
Speaking of pros, any favorites, ones you looked up to or kind of modeled after?
well, yes and no. Probably a guy I enjoyed watching on TV a lot was Walter Ray for sure. There's just a handful of guys that's just hard to not enjoy watching. I would probably say more consistently was probably Sean Rash. During that time, I was big Brunswick guy. Couldn't get me really to throw anything else. And so he was definitely somebody that I probably watched more often than not. Try to get. I would love to get the same amount of hand in, but
So would everybody else.
you're right.
You know?
But then you switched it up, though, after
I
a
did.
while.
I did. I tried something different. Got into motive. Through that for a couple seasons. Started mixed bagging it back in with some Brunswick stuff, just because for a period of time I just didn't have the equipment that I was seeing through Motive's line that was going to give me a different angle that I needed around town for different shots and stuff, and some tournaments and things too. So need to have some in between stuff in the bag, a little bit more angular that I just didn't have anymore. So
Motive definitely has a look.
it does.
Yeah.
I agree.
I
It was
mean-
the closest thing company-wise that I found close enough to Brunswick stuff as far as how their shot shape was at the time, how the balls reacted, and for most of their professional pros that were on staff at the time to give me a little bit more confidence. Yeah, let's go ahead and just give this a shot, a little bit more full-time doing that. And I didn't do bad, but I
So-
feel like my game's changed
Yeah.
quite a bit
Oh,
since
yeah.
then. So
Even watching you when we were bowling youth together, and then now to now, it's yeah, you can tell the difference.
yeah, I definitely changed. Well, biggest change was going from 4 steps to 5 steps and
And-
running through the approach.
I have never, I'm sure you guys out there, maybe some of you went from 4 to 5 steps for a reason. But his reason is the one and only time I've heard the reason why he went from 4 to 5 steps. Oh, say it, Avery.
Really to slow down and change my time and make sure my timing was better.
I've never
To
heard
felt
that.
smoother.
Anybody goes from 4 to 5 steps to get more speed, to get their feet going quicker, and he went from 4 to 5 to slow down. I've never heard of that before.
Well, I mean, I guess
There's nothing wrong
it's
with
all a
that.
mindset. I mean,
Yeah, but that's
if
interesting.
you have to think
'cause
about it more, you're going to slow down a little bit more.
You take more steps to get faster. I mean, I went from 5 to 4 to slow down like 30 years ago.
The other side of it too is like slow down because I knew I was pretty much leaping through the approach for the most part, and that extra step allowed me to stay in the same spot on the approach instead of having to move up
Wh-
a foot and a half, because I would usually wind up 2 feet behind the foul line,
Yeah.
running up through there in 4. And
When you were
everything, so-
4, were you at the back of the approach too, or?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that explains it. I can see
So-
that then, yeah.
So
A
I like
little
being
more.
able to stay further back, just because it was easier just to. It's a guaranteed
It's-
position.
Smaller steps is more control too,
Yeah,
over what your
absolutely.
body's doing.
Yeah. So that
That's-
helped throttle me down a little bit, but still be able to keep my arm swing and power pretty much the same throughout the shot. I think I lost a little bit of hand at the bottom of it, so I don't think my revs are as prominent as they were, but.
So how do you like the PBA format with the 2-lane courtesy instead of 1-lane courtesy?
I don't mind it. It's once you get used to it and you see how it works in the events and stuff, the pace is almost the same. It's just understanding. Okay, you got to watch. So if I'm on 15 and 16, bowling on 15, I need to watch for the guy that's on 18. Make sure that he's done, nobody else in between, and then the next pair to the left of me. You get some guys that are a little pretty stickler about it that will yell at you for, we'll call it jumping. But there's just some of those guys that are a little bit more like prima donna about it. It's like, I think if you're this good at the same time, the same concept, it's like, then somebody that far away shouldn't bother you so much. But I get you get used to that gap, and something out may throw you off a little bit, but.
Yeah, I know Russ, that was something he mentioned when he bowled his first regional about a month or so ago. That took some getting used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it gets in your head. I mean, you're sitting there thinking about if it's your turn or not, and you're not thinking about what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
that bothered me the first one I did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know.
me too.
It didn't help. I had Walter Ray standing next to me going every time.
It's
I'm
your
like,
turn,
that's,
kid.
yeah, it's not my turn. Come on, dude.
But are you sure? Are you sure it's my turn? I can't
That'd
tell.
have been fun to bowl next to Walter Way.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's
So-
no, it's not.
So it was nice. I didn't really get the assistance too much, like the first couple of events that I did with from some of the other guys trying to really explain it to me how it worked out. And so I probably struggled a little bit more. The better one, again, being that Shawnee tournament at Fire Lake, had one of the guys that was like, man, it's been a minute since I've done one of these. Is like refresh my memory on our setup. He's like, all right, so just make sure like you're gonna follow probably this guy on this lane and this guy on this lane. So just as long as you see that that's pretty much gates open, you're gonna be good from there. I was like, okay, that works. And had one guy that made the assumption that I jumped. I may have, may not, but I saw him get up on the approach and then back off the approach. I was like, well, if you're not gonna go, I was like, technically I need to follow you. I was like, so I'm gonna go. I was like, but I think at the same time he decided to get back up and
No, yeah.
change his mind. So one of the other guys is like, just ignore him. He's like that. I was like, that's fair.
Okay.
And he was the only guy that had an issue. So
So out of all the guys on our list of bowlers for this next month in the underground, who are you most excited to have a match with?
I'd like to get linked up with Russ. Probably Russ and Dustin would be good. I haven't bowled with Dustin in a while. Most of the other guys I've bowled with more recently than not.
I got a feeling that Dustin, even though he's new, he's going to go high in the draft just because of what he did yesterday.
Yeah.
Just from yesterday's showing.
can
If you
see
didn't know him
that.
at all before that,
Yeah.
he showed it.
Yeah, between those two, I was like, even Hoover, Jared's always been good. I could throw Josh in there, but I bowl Josh usually every time we link up on Friday nights, and
Mhm.
he actually let me get 2 away from him this past Friday, so that was nice. Usually I'm lucky to get 1 from him. It's like my here's your little free pass, and I'm just gonna wreck you the rest of the night. So
What about you, Chuck? Who you most excited to bowl?
Well, haven't really given it much thought. Yeah, maybe Avery, Tanner. Yeah, I just, more bowling people who I like.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a good way of looking at it. You know, you have more fun when you know who they are and
Yeah.
you get along with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you think you're going to go in the draft?
Oof. Man, I would like to be in the top 10, either team. That'd be cool. I could see 8-ish if I make that cut on the high side. Yeah, kind of in that.
I could see you going in the top 10 just because, even though you haven't had much going on in the club, everybody knows that, your caliber of bowling.
Yeah,
And, especially the two guys that are doing the drafting.
yeah, they know me pretty well, so
Yeah.
that helps.
Yeah, they know
It helps.
how good of a match you can put on with pretty much anybody. I mean, we've had a couple of good go-rounds.
Yeah, we did.
So.
Last time that when you and I bowled, I struggled a little bit with some transition stuff that you managed to get through a little bit better.
Yeah, that's
I think
'cause
your speed helped a
I was
lot.
about to say, I throw 25 miles an hour, it helps.
Mhm.
Especially when you have a bunch of open bowling right before you get there and plastic balls,
Absolutely.
tears
yeah.
up the shot.
Yeah.
What about you, Chuck? Where do you think you're going to go in the draft?
Oh, last.
Last?
I don't have any expectations.
You don't?
I just bowl.
Okay. It's understandable.
Coming from the most consistent bowler I know.
Coming from the number 3 qualifying bowler yesterday in the tournament behind the two Hearns.
Right?
Yeah, that bowling on our Sunday sports shot, unlike because this was a challenge shot
Mhm.
that we bowled on yesterday. It wasn't a house shot.
Not as demanding.
Well,
as
one
a-
thing.
as some of the PBA stuff, it's still
Yeah.
challenging enough.
Well, what
for
it
sure.
did was, unlike the sports shots we bowled on every it held up as far as where I was playing and didn't have to really do much moving for me. So it definitely was easier. But I mean, it was a really good fair shot that was put down. So those challenge shots, it was 66.
Yeah, Route 66.
So
45-foot pattern.
We were actually thinking about putting the tornado out first because it just looks cool when you look at it on the sheet.
Oh yeah.
But,
The oil layout.
that
They-
was one I did good on.
They bowled on it, the sport shot league that Chuck's talking about, they bowled on it the Sunday previous, and they had a lot of high scores. I was like, nah, that's too easy. That's a little too easy.
It depended on who it was. I think I did okay, but some really struggled too. But
It was a higher volume of oil.
yeah, it was a ton.
Yeah.
It'll definitely
It was a
hold,
ton of oil.
shot
Yeah.
hold up a lot longer.
It would have held up a lot better than what we had down for this tournament, just for the sole fact that each round is best 2 or 3 games. So you're going to have.
Yeah. I mean, but the pattern Route 66, I was looking at it, I was like, it's about another 5 liters of oil, if that, milliliters, excuse me, of
Mhm.
oil more than probably a typical house shot. So it'll just hold up a little bit longer than how it's going to transition. I was like, you can definitely get some interesting stuff when you get to that low volume stuff where it's half, so your transition's going to be a whole lot faster.
I noticed a lot of the guys they kept it around the same area the whole day, but it was super tight.
Everybody playing about middle 17 to 14,
Yeah.
kind of just fade in the pocket later in the day.
Pretty much, yeah.
Around 10 to 12.
Yeah,
Which
and
is
it was,
just deep
which is
for
deep
me.
for you, yeah. When you hang around 7 as on your inside shot most of the time.
I think a shot like that's good though because with it being tighter like that, if you miss just a little bit
Sure.
through the nose, there's a lot of splits left. I know in Tanner and AJ's match, they both start stringing them, and it looked like it's going to be a good match, and then both of them just fall off and go through the nose a couple times, and got to be a little bit ugly, but
Well,
makes for a good match.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll let you know when you made mistakes.
Yeah, when stuff starts wearing down like that a little bit, it's like you really got to grind to make sure you make as good a shot as possible. To even if it wasn't the best line, you hope you have something that you can come away with a makeable after that
Yeah.
to push you through.
So, you have any strategies on getting one of these title belts from somebody?
Man, I just got a challenge. Make time to do it. And got to really maybe make some extra time just for me and just kind of sharpen the edges a little bit. So start cutting through some folk.
Any strategies so far, or you still working on that?
Yeah, no, it's pretty much just
I mean, all these bowlers on here are good. I mean, we've got a good core list of
Absolutely.
bowlers in this club, and it's gonna be hard for anybody to get 5 wins in a row to go for this BMF title. And I got a feeling somebody's gonna hold on to it for a while.
it's very possible.
Yeah.
As like, or it's just going to be. I can see definitely a handful of guys that'll be rotating it around at the same time too. But it always comes every once in a while. You know, every dog has their day, and
Yeah. One name we don't have on this list is Mike Edwards. He's still having a little bit of issues with his back, so I'm going to have to figure out another contender for the Commissioner's Champ belt to go against Ernie. I'll look at that probably this week and figure out something for next weekend.
How often will that happen on the commissioner's belt?
I was wanting to shoot for every couple weeks, but with stuff going on, tournament going on, I haven't had a chance to really spend time on looking at who I think would be a good matchup.
sure,
I want to have the best matches possible with this belt. That's the whole
absolutely.
point behind it, is to figure out who would be the best matchup with who has it at the moment.
What were we still going to do? Because I know I've been talking about 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 5.
We're still looking at that. For right now, it's still going to be best 2 or 3. We're actually looking at making the title belts 5-game match instead of a 3-game match. Make it a little more interesting. I don't know how the guys feel about that.
I'm not against it. I mean, it's definitely a little bit more prestigious belt, so you kind of need to make it count. Give both those guys a real opportunity to work something in.
Oh yeah. I think with the team champ belts, we'll just leave it at the 3 because it's technically a normal
Sure.
challenge.
Yeah, that
But,
will get filtered through a little bit more.
Yeah,
I was like,
these-
because that 3 out of 5 kind of gives you that going the distance a
Yeah.
little bit too. And it's like, who really wants it?
Yeah, and these specialty belts, I think though, they need to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
Another thing we have the number 1 title right now is the gold Tulsa Underground champ, and with these 2 new belts behind me, it pretty much puts the gold one out of commission. So I mean, you and me were talking about it Friday.
Right.
Thinking about doing an undisputed champ, which means the 2 top number 1 guys of each team would go at it, and the winner would get the undisputed champ belt. Now, with that being said, if they lose their team belt, they lose their undisputed belt, and they would go back vacant
Correct.
until we pick a time for the number 1s at the time to go at it
Yeah,
again.
for the new number 1 to work
Yeah.
something out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that
That's
would
fair.
be interesting, and if we do that, I would definitely want to make that one just like these other 2 special belts and make them a 5-game match. So we have plenty going on in this club. I mean, plenty to keep everybody busy, especially myself.
Yeah.
Never sleep.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I appreciate you coming out and joining us for this podcast.
Yeah. Enjoyed it.
It's good to learn a little bit about you and let everybody know, a little bit more about you, and maybe you can get some challenges out of this.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
Yeah.
Call me out.
Well,
Whenever.
you heard it. You heard it.
I'll shoot
He
you
wants
my,
to call out.
I'll shoot you my schedule.
Like, fit it in here. No. Chuck, you got anything else to add before we close this podcast?
No, it's just exciting to see how this is all growing. And I mean, did you imagine we'd be in the 40s when you were starting?
No. Really, I thought I'd have the 10 that I had when I started, or the 8 that I had when I started. I didn't think I was going to get more than that.
10 became 10, became 15, became mid-20s, and here we are pushing 40.
Yeah.
That first meeting when there was 3 people there,
Yeah.
And then, you just it's more just word of mouth, and then really that group page, I think,
Yeah.
is the biggest.
Yeah, once we started getting people looking at the Facebook page, it took off. Once we started I didn't think people would like it as much as they did, because it's different. But I guess different is good.
Well,
I mean, there's a lot of this kind of activity going on in other parts of the country, you know, you have some of those crazy leagues that do this stuff and as a whole group stuff too. So
Well, and that competition and just the fact, you know, it's one-on-one. This doesn't surprise me that it's growing because of that, because that's really what everybody you know, it's a,
heads up,
Yeah,
no
it's-
handicap.
Yeah.
even if it's not much to it, this is
Whoever's
where
better that
it
day.
explains the lower level with people who aren't even bothering to challenge up. A victory is a victory, you know, a W is a W. So I think that's, people just like to being able to do that and win points and, you know, even maybe if it doesn't necessarily
Oh, yeah.
mean cash, you know, reward for it.
Right. It's a personal reward. And then for those that may struggle a little bit more than others, it's a good opportunity to watch how some of these other guys and women, April's our lone wolf right now.
For
and
now.
Hopefully we can change that.
Yeah, April, come on, get some more women out here for our club thing.
Yeah. But see how they play, how they attack the lanes and transitions, everything like that. Maybe pick up some tips, and it's always a good time to even ask questions. I mean, you may not get those answers during your match, but post match you may be like, "Hey, I was like, man, is there anything that you kind of noticed or by chance took notice that I could probably possibly work on or anything?" I mean, half this is about growth anyway, so.
Last few bit of info before we close this out. Be sure to check out our draft. It's going to be posted later on tonight.
And that time frame is when?
We're going to do it. It'll probably be 3 or 4 o'clock when we actually film it, so we're going to post it around 5.
Okay.
I'm going to try to get it up by 5 o'clock. Ernie's got a bowl league, and then we're going to do it as soon as Ernie's done with league.
Gotcha.
So, as always, I'd like to thank Andy Bees for letting us use the office up front to do this podcast, and for all the support they've given us so far with the tournament. And,
Especially Ryland.
yes, Ryland's been really, really generous with us on everything we've done. Very supportive. I also like to thank our sponsors. We got a couple sponsors. One would like to remain anonymous. The other one would be Ernie's Automotive Shop.
Performance.
Yeah.
Freight train rules.
Yeah. And with that being said, thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
Stay tuned.